First YouTube live video, so here we go. It doesn't get any more live than this YouTube channel though, because we're like dropping content nonstop, so it may as well be live. I'm here in Davis, California, hitting up my 10-minute walk, walking to my car, and then I'm going to get to the gym. Why are you so hungry? Why are people so hungry on their diet? Why do people have such a hard time with their nutrition? Well, there's a few things going on. Number one, and when somebody starts to select a meal plan or somebody starts to select a particular style of diet, they also drop their caloric intake. They also start to reduce the overall amount of food they're eating, and that is the single biggest mistake that you can make. When you're starting to employ dietary interventions, you're starting to change the foods that you eat. You need to make sure that you don't do that. You need to make sure that you are going to take your time learning these new foods that you're eating. You need to learn how to shop. You need to learn how to check the labels of your foods. You need to learn how to go to a restaurant and order for yourself. Like, you need to learn a lot of stuff. And so abstaining away from certain foods and restricting at the same time, restricting the overall amount of food that you're eating, it is a shit show at best. This is one reason why I preach against weighing stuff and trying to track your calories, because the world that we live in right now, it's so against you trying to have a reasonable caloric intake for the day. There's so much food and so much negative influence around nonstop, all day, every day. And so how in the F are you supposed to be able to, how in the world are you supposed to be able to track your food when everything is really crappy? Take going to a restaurant, for example. A lot of their carbohydrate choices are shitty. You're going to be cooked in oil. Every once in a while, you can get a baked potato. Every once in a while, you might be able to get fruit. But all the other forms of carbohydrates are going to have too much fat in them. The overall meal itself is going to have too much fat in it as well. And you won't be able to have something that has a reasonable amount of calories in it. I always feel like the answer is just to simply reduce the amount of carbohydrates that you eat. It offsets nearly everything, and it lowers the potential for overeating. But the question here for today is, why are you so hungry? You are so hungry because you're not eating enough. It's very, very simple. When people go on a diet, people are like, oh, I'm on the carnivore diet. Is it going to get any better? Are the cravings going to get any better? Is my hunger going to get any better? Well, it won't get any better until you make changes. You need to really eat, and you need to get after it. Now, I want to teach you a few things when it comes to eating that you may not know. So let's just never mind like intermittent fasting for a second, and let's think about intermittently eating. When you intermittently eat, when you eat a few times a day, let's just say you're to eat 3 times in a day. You know how many times you'd be hungry? Probably 3 or 4 times. How many times a day would you be hungry if you ate 4 or 5 times a day? You'd probably be hungry 3 or 4 times a day. And how hungry would you be if you only ate once for the day? You'd probably be hungry 3 or 4 times for the day. Your hunger will spike. Your ghrelin levels, your other hormones in your body are going to release and kind of they'll get cascaded throughout the day, kind of in accordance to the sunlight, in accordance to the day. It's like called a circadian rhythm. And so a lot of times these are some of the things that are happening, and or it could be coached, it could be learned, it could be, okay, it's lunchtime and the body gets adapted and used to lunchtime. Okay, we normally get fed at this time. Okay, where's our food? We normally get fed for breakfast. Where's our food? Well, let me share with you a few easy concepts. Number one is, anytime that you first start on a diet, I say this all the time, but it's not sexy, and people probably are not listening to it, probably ignoring it, and they shouldn't be, because this is gold. Whenever you first start a diet, even if you're a veteran dieter, if the diet is fairly new to you, do not try to reduce your calories. Do not try to reduce the amount of times a day that you eat. Do not start with fasting. Start with the food. The food choices are going to dictate and regulate, auto-regulate your caloric intake for you. It will flip a switch, bing, and it will auto-regulate, and you'll eat less calories when you eat more protein. Better food choices, better options, more protein is going to be more satiating. And it gets to be difficult to eat. If I was just to say, hey man, look, I don't care what you do from a diet perspective, but you got to eat 300 grams of protein every day. You'd be so busy chomping down that protein, you wouldn't have time for anything else. Plus, it would be a lot. It'd be a lot of food in the belly, right? So, why are you so hungry on a diet? Well, most diets include salad, and most diets include anti-nutrients, which are vegetables. Vegetables contain a lot of anti-nutrients. Not everybody knows this. I'm not necessarily against vegetables, but they really don't provide much value for us. They don't help you go to the bathroom. There's not a lot of research to support that. For as much research there is to possibly support that it could potentially help you go to the bathroom, there's as much evidence and as much research to show you that it doesn't do that. So, and I'm not a believer. I'm not sold. I think that vegetables are neutral. I don't think they do much. Anyway, aside from that, a lot of diets include you eating salads often, right? And you eating low nutrient, low density stuff. It doesn't have the macronutrients your body's looking for. And we know from research that all living things are in search of protein. As human beings, we're being faked out. We're being juked. We're being duped. And we think that we need something, but we're really just always in search of protein. Protein, protein, protein. But instead you eat a bag of chips. Or instead you have, instead you have some veggies, or instead you have this or have that doesn't have protein in it. Instead you eat carbs, right? Instead you have like pasta. And these things could fill you up for the moment. It could satisfy you for the moment, but you're going to be hungry later on. One other thing about protein is not only is protein satiating, it doesn't really count against us in terms of an energy source. Whereas fats and carbohydrates kind of will. Because those things are easier to overeat, especially when you bring carbohydrates and fats together, such as pizza, such as ice cream. I realize those things also have some protein in them, but you get my point. When those things come together, it's very easy to overeat. Protein by itself is very hard to overeat when you have something like a chicken breast or an egg or egg whites. I'm not suggesting that you eat those things because they're just not that palatable. They don't taste that good. That's the other thing that people do on a diet. When people go on a diet, they eat a bunch of stuff that doesn't taste that good. When you're on a carnivore style diet, you don't need to eat that way. You can just eat meat. You can eat protein and fat, and it's easy to eat. Not only is it easy to eat, but it fucking tastes really good. It tastes absolutely delicious. It's fantastic. And so if you were just to think like, hey, I wonder what would happen if I ate, 2 New York strips every day and 8 eggs and 4 strips of bacon every day. First of all, that would taste really good. Secondly, I doubt you'd be all that hungry. If you're a bigger person, then maybe you need to slam down some burgers too. But if you get this thing right, you won't have to worry about hunger and you won't have to worry about cravings. How do I stop being so hungry? Will this get any better? The more that you're disciplined towards it, the easier it will get. The more that you stay on course, the less likely you are to get off track. Think about like a train track, right? Like that's staying the course. You're getting locked in. How often does a train get derailed, right? It's very difficult for a train to go off course. You want to think about you on your diet as being locked in like a train rather than just being on a road to nowhere. Remember, the road to nowhere is paved with excuses. And I see a lot of people using excuses on why they can't stay on this diet. I can't afford it. It's too hard. Oh man, I'm trying really hard, but I'm not losing any weight. If you're trying really hard and you're not losing any weight, you're still not trying the correct way. You still haven't found the way. Remember, the obstacle is the way. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius, right? That's what we're looking at. What's the tough part, you know? What's the thing that's going to be difficult? You're hungry on a diet because you're dieting, because you reduce the overall amount of food that you should be eating. And you should be ramping up your food. Ramp it up until you're almost sick of it. Until you're like, oh my God, I can't keep eating this shit. Do that. And you might have cravings that creep over and think about other things, but strategy number 1, hit up a 10-minute walk. Strategy number 2, take a shower and brush your teeth and get ready for bed. Things like that will change you. Another strategy could be that you just, you get a drink at the end of the night. You maybe get even like some sort of diet drink or something like that. Just something, so that way maybe you can end with something sweet. I'm not a huge fan or huge proponent of too much of that kind of stuff. But man, if you feel like you got to really kind of end the day with something like that, you might want to do that. But really, the biggest problem I see facing people is like they want to like diet, and they also like, you got to keep in mind when you start eating less and less and less, you're not allowing your body to gain any muscle or hold on to any muscle. We got to hold on to that muscle. I know some of you might be like, well, what about fasting? Well, fasting is great, and the benefit of fasting is that it can teach you over a long period of time that you don't really need nearly the amount of food that you thought you did. But in the beginning, you might need a lot of food because you might be a fatty and you might need to make some good, strong, positive changes. Thank you guys so much for following along. I really appreciate it. Make sure you're checking out today's day number 35 of World Carnivore Month. I think it's day 35. I keep getting confused on what day I'm on. I really do appreciate all the support. I appreciate everybody watching. We're just going to keep attacking. We're just going to keep bringing stuff to you guys like you've never seen before. I'm super excited to keep pumping out that content. I think we have like a live chat in here somewhere, but I don't know how to view that. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Oh yeah, now I see some people like asking some questions on here. Pretty cool. I never seen that before. Pretty dope. Oh, whoops, they disappeared. Like I said, I never messed with this before. Anyway, I'll learn this shit. I'll get used to it more. But like the stuff that I'm about to do with Carnivore is going to be wild. I'm going to do more like Skype stuff and more like Google Hangouts and shit. So that way, I can, I got everybody in here. I can contact anybody, almost anybody in the world, Dr. Baker, Dr. Paul Saladino, I can hit those guys up at any time and see what they think of particular things going on in the carnivore world. Lane Norton, Joel Green, Ron Panna, any of these guys. I can hit up any of these guys anytime and get good responses from them that can help all of you, provide value for you guys. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's what I'm going to be sharing out with you guys. The writing on these things is so small. I'll have to have my glasses on next time I do this. But a beautiful day, absolutely beautiful day. It was 34 degrees this morning, a little bit chilly. But going to the gym and going to squat, I can't wait. I'm super excited for that. And tomorrow I'm going to hit up a run. I'm pumped up for that and excited for that. Almost slipped, almost died. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch you all later. How do I shut this down?